Hello and welcome back to another episode of Advanced RC Adventures. A2RC here. This is a channel where we investigate, explore, build and explain, upgrade and advance Nitro RCs to another level. Come start a new adventure with me. We do have a fun Nitro Engine Overview for you today from HPI. This is the 1301 NitroStar Pro 12R XS. Let's open up the box here and start the adventure. This is a brand new engine. Came with some air filters, a glow plug, an air filter housing, some accessories. Got the engine here. Always came with some paperwork and some very nice stickers if that's something that you wanted to put on your car. This is a brand new build, like I said, but it has been torn down, inspected, put into long-term storage. Let's get it out of the bubble wrap here. Out of the bag. Got our desiccant here. Try to put a new one of those in every single engine rebuild or brand new inspection. Try to keep the moisture out of the engine. This is a 0.12, a 2.1 cc engine. This, as I understand, is made by Novarossi for HPI. And this is the iconic engine that Hara and a number of racers during that early 2000s period ran on their 10 scale touring cars. This has a standard back plate. It's a bump start engine. This uses a standard shaft. This is a 5.5 millimeter carb. Beautiful, beautiful HPI purple head, rear exhaust. Let's go through this engine overview here, pop off the carb, and start the adventure. This has a standard 6 millimeter pinch bolt nut. Take off the carb here. If you watch some of the earlier episodes, one in particular is the STS race engine that I did. This particular carburetor is going to look familiar to you. It has an all brass construction for the high-speed needle and fuel inlet nipple. It's not insulated, but it uses a standard butyl style O-ring down below. Rubber boot, brass kind of ball stud to help move the slide carb. This is a 5.5 millimeter bore. This is a composite construction here, and it's relatively lightweight for that matter. This is a 3-needle carb. We have our high speed here. We have our low speed here within the spray bar, and then we have our 3rd needle here for the mixing cone there on the right hand side. These are decent little carbs and help this 12R XS perform pretty darn well. Let's do a little overview here of the engine. A very nice black in color block. Standard backplate with rear exhaust. The purple cooling head doesn't have any shine cuts, but it doesn't need it. These engines with the black on purple is extremely beautiful. Let's take off this backplate and take a look at our internals. Give our backplate a little wiggle and then pop it off. Make sure our piston is up just in case. So this is a semi-interference engine. Notice we have a cutout, but it's not grooved, so the piston itself, the skirt, doesn't fit down inside. All aluminum, backplate, nice black on the outside, polished on the inside. We have a butyl O-ring seal right there on the inside of the plate. There's no designation for up on the outside, but with that mill work, the cutout for the piston, this denotes as up. Let's take a look on the inside here. Nice connecting rod. Take out our pinch bolt here. Let's go ahead and pop off the head. And take out these head bolts. These are an M3. By 15 it looks like. So that's a decent size with the M3 and the length of 15 millimeter. That's a decent size head bolt. This uses a head button or an underhead style. This has a standard plug head button. It's not a turbo plug. You can get them in different options, as well as with the shaft. You can get an SG shaft or a standard. I particularly care for the standard shaft versions on anything that I can get, so that I can use them on the cars and the trucks that need or were designed for standard shafts. This can go on the R40 even with a syntax clutch. You just need a little flywheel adapter nut that can go on here to help convert that. But this 12R XS did come in an SG shaft version as well. So if you have this particular engine and you have the SG crank, you can swap them out if you want, or just find one or buy one or use one that has that SG crank from the beginning. See if we can't wiggle off this head just a bit. Get these head shims off. Looks like we have two head shims. We have an aluminum and we have a copper. Let's go ahead and give these a quick measure. The aluminum is a 0.3 and the copper is a 0.1. So that's a 0.4 shim stack for this 0.12 engine, and that's relatively big. But of course you can adjust your shim stack for your nitro concentration how you want or need, depending on your track or depending on how you want the engine to run. This increases or decreases the volume for the combustion chamber, which can affect your timing as well as your power output. Let's set those to the side here. Go ahead and get out this sleeve if we can. Some of these brand new engines have a tight, snug sleeve, and that's a good thing. You don't want it to be too loose and have bypass between the crankcase and the sleeve here. We'll take a look at that sleeve here in just a second. Let's go ahead and get out this piston if we can. Let's take a little look. This has one oil groove there on top. This is a flat style piston. Got a nice big skirt cut here. Skirt is fully intact there on the back side. We have a captured wrist pin. There's a dead end here on this side, clip here on one side. So every design has its pros and cons. This helps to eliminate a fastener, so it's trapped on this side. You only have to have one clip here. You just have to make sure that that wrist pin is put in the right direction, has the hole on this side so that you can access that clip with a set of pliers to get that out of there if needed. This connecting rod is really nice. It's a billet connecting rod, and it has an excessive knife edge, almost to the point where it literally, the two bevels touch one another in the middle. This is a great example of where the term comes from, a knife edge, because it has that bevel there. We have brass bushings, top and bottom, oil groove, and this is a nice looking piston. The piston itself is billet and CNC machine, just like the rod. Get our crank out here. These are decent cranks. There's no modifications on this particular engine. I am confident that the team drivers for HPI at the time, for example Hara, had modified versions of these engines, but they were all 3-port engines in order to make them roar legal unless they raced in the open class. One special thing, I don't know if the camera will pick this up though, is on this balance lobe, there's a nice ground face of that balance lobe. And that's to help a little bit of drag reduction as the crankshaft spins. But the balance lobe is intact, it is in full, there's no cutout here, there's no fang down below, there's no cutout on the side. These particular crankshafts are not drilled and filled, but they are drilled a little bit into that middle section there. Standard kind of bump style rod journal there. Let's go ahead and give these measure here. So the ID for the front bearing is 7mm, and the ID for the rear bearing is a 12mm. A decent size opening on the induction window. Let's go ahead and measure as well the induction bore. And that's a 7mm bore, which is a great size for these race style engines. This particular version is more so in the club racer world. I'm sure again the team versions would have modified portions of the engine. These engines are supposed to have somewhere around 1.3, 1.4 horsepower, 38 to 40,000 RPM. Inside of the block, you won't be able to see it too drastically, but there are some excessive and extreme milling and cutouts for the transfer port, the boost port, and the exhaust. And down inside of the throat for the carb, there's another seal. So these seals have a double seal. We have one here at the base of the carb and an additional one down below inside of the block, which is a great feature. These use a chrome steel bearing front and rear. We've got a rubber shield there on the front to help keep the debris out. The block is really beautiful just by itself, the all black block with the 0.12 HPI on both sides into the casting. If you've ever had an opportunity to run one of these engines, whether it's the standard shaft style or the SG, they are something fun and great and very nostalgic to have. So let's go ahead and take a look at this sleeve. This is ABC Construction engine. We have an aluminum piston, brass sleeve, and the sleeve is chrome lined. Take a look at the exhaust here. Nice big opening on the exhaust. There's no dog ears. The design itself has just a little touch of mill work on the outsides to help with flow. Over to the transfer ports. These are pretty nice transfer ports. Nice and long, and the bevel itself is pretty extreme. It's not modified, but the bevel itself goes pretty deep, and they're on that leading edge to help force that mixed combustion gases into the cylinder to mix up for combustion. Take a look at the other side. It's exactly mirrored. Nice big lower bevel and a small leading edge. But again, no extreme fangs or modifications. But take a look at this boost port. The boost port hole itself, or port, is relatively standard. But look at this beveled leading edge. This is extreme. They wanted all of that flow from the boost port to get inside that cylinder as well as possible. And then there's a decent size bevel there on the bottom and just a tick of bevel on the inside, wrapping up this very nice chrome lined sleeve for the 12R XS. These particular engines you can go ahead and modify yourself if you want to and help wake them up. They're more known for their top end power and RPM. They of course have decent low end torque, but they're definitely known for their high revving capability. These engines fall in that C12 kind of family of Novarossi, which is a great family of engines to be a part of. If you like these particular style and types of engines, feel free to check out some of the other overviews that we've done here on the channel in the past. And if you have one of these 12R XS HPI Rossi built engines available to you to put on one of your standard, current, or vintage builds, I encourage you to do it. You'll fall in love with them all over again. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like 10 scale, nitro, and especially touring cars, then this is a place to be, and thanks for taking the adventure with me.